And we're live.
We're live?
Yes. Well,
this is exciting.
Sometimes. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the podcast. So I effed up. Me and Marty had agreed to do this podcast at 8, and then I somehow lost track of when we were supposed to do it. So I said 7, and I tweeted out that we were going to do this at 7. And then Derek had also been there when I agreed that it was 8. So now Derek's like hands deep in making meatballs, so he can't join us because he doesn't want to get like meat on his keyboard or something. I don't know. It's my fault, though, I just want to say. Are you there, Marty? Your face is frozen. It's just me and Marty's frozen face. How's it going? Oh, something's happening.
Let's try. This is the world we live in, though, right? Is that better? I think so.
Oh, yeah, that's
better.
My
bandwidth is low. Maybe that's the problem. Bandwidth.
Oh, okay. You got to get that bigger bandwidth, bro. Good to get the big
Fix bandwidth. The bandwidth, bro.
So,
no problem.
You cut out and it shit the bed and booted you right when I was pronouncing your name wrong. So I'll just let you say your last name because I know I could do Marty. I could do Marty all day, but it was Zylstra or Zylstra.
Zylstra, like
Zylstra.
Yeah. And we were telling each other, not the public, about how we have the same kind of upbringing in the sense that your dad immigrated from Holland, just like my dad.
Yes.
Like family did.
Well, your family immigrated to here like just a couple of years before your dad was born, right?
Yeah, 53. I believe it's April of 53, I believe.
Yeah, and my grandparents on my dad's side came here when my dad was 3 years old. So a little joke I like to do is anytime someone like that I work with or anything is being racist to me, I'll be like, I'm a first generation Canadian. Like my dad was a fob. Why are you saying this stuff to me?
But it's funny, but it's also true because if you think about yourself that way and you think about how you perceive other people who have moved to Canada, maybe we have that perspective of being our age, looking at people moving here from other countries, thinking, "Oh, that's what it was like for my grandfather." That's what I think now, which is strange, but it's interesting thinking like that now.
I guess that's actually I have the strongest white privilege you can get because I'm a first generation Canadian, but people will see me and they'll just assume that I was born here or like my ancestors came over. And it was funny because I was in college with a guy of Chinese descent, but his family had been in Canada for 3 generations, but he kept people always assumed that his parents were immigrants or he was an immigrant. And it was kind of like the roles were reversed. So
that's it's a flaw in the system, in the matrix.
No, it definitely is.
It's true. It's so in that paradigm, your perspective of his challenges is kind of unique because you view it a different way, the opposite than that maybe someone would normally view it, which is kind of funny. Wow, you've got a really good English accent, instead of wow, you speak perfect English. Like do people don't say that to you?
No, they don't.
Dale, you have a perfect accent. Like you can't even tell. You can't even tell you're Dutch in any way.
You sound like you were born here, except for then I'll meet someone who not like you, but someone who is Dutch like both of us. And they will say, "Can you speak the language?" And I'll be like, "No." And they'll be like, "Oh." And then they'll get like a little crestfallen because they think that since I have a Dutch last name and my dad was an immigrant, that he would have taught me how to be Dutch. But it was like, how was my dad and my mom going to swear and talk about me around me if they taught me Dutch?
True, but I think there was sort of maybe in the 50s, my grandparents they wanted to, maybe this is of the time as well, they really wanted to integrate as quickly as possible, so they focused so hard hard on learning English, and they wanted their kids to speak English. So my dad doesn't ever speak Dutch. He was technically English as a second language, but he speaks,
Mhm.
he doesn't even speak Dutch anymore. So
Yeah, that was like my dad's passed now, but the only people he talked Dutch to were my grandma and his brothers and sisters. And other than that, though, he never spoke Dutch. But yeah,
thanks,
he
Dale.
was.
You didn't tell me your dad had passed away.
Oh, it's
That's
it's 10 years old. It's like happened over 10 years ago. It's not a sore spot anymore. I used to use it to troll people, like somebody would say something about my dad, and then I'd be like all fake sad, and I'd be like, "But he's dead," and they'd be like, "Oh my god," and they'd feel bad, and I'd be like, "Ha, I gotcha." But yeah, it's actually. This is a good question to ask you because you're Dutch like me. Were your um like family and extended family kind of cavalier about death as a whole? Because I found that with my family. I don't know if that was specifically like my dad and his brothers and sisters or just my dad from like because I remember him saying like he was like injured because throughout his life he had like been attacked by a bull, he had rolled over cars, and he'd basically just been living like a madman. And so by the time he was my age, he was all sore and broken. And then he would like kind of hint, he'd be like, "Oh, I'll be gone soon." He'd be like, "Haha, whatever." And like, I'd never think about it. But then by the time it was time for him to go, we were all kind of used to him going, like the thought of him going. So it wasn't like, it basically didn't, it wasn't a surprise death. Like he had cancer for a couple months. So it didn't like ruin me and my siblings' world type of deal. Like, cause we kind of got used to the fact. And I kind of maybe attributed to that as like, sort of the European, like
well,
factual
if
thing, but
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the same in my family. But um, I think I attribute it to, you know, because my grandparents, like your grandparents, came over to Canada for a better life after a war that had destroyed their
yeah.
country. Like they were basically like they weren't refugees, but they didn't have any opportunity for 15 years, call it, in their own country. So they had to find new opportunity. Going to a country where they didn't speak the language and didn't know anyone was better than staying where they were. So, I
Hmm.
mean, that whole concept to begin with is foreign to me because I plan on never leaving this house I'm in right now, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct. Europeans have a totally different view on death than, say, the West, right?
Yeah, and also it's like they were never refugees, but they lived like your grandparents and my grandparents, because my grandma had a couple stories about living in Holland while it was occupied by the Nazis. And so they were like had a firsthand view of war and death and stuff. And that was like that war was pretty brutal for um like civilian death. Like now people, if like we haven't really had a war that bad since then, but even in conflicts and stuff, armies don't really target civilians and bomb cities to try to get the other side to give up, kind of deal, like they did in World War II.
Yeah, I mean, we could. This is the outrage factory. So, I mean, war is outrageous.
Yeah.
But yeah, World War II is. I mean, the reason I exist is because of World War II, right? My dad
Hmm.
came over, and then when he was 16 or 17, he met my mom, and they got married when he was 20. I mean, it wouldn't exist. I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for World War II. But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, um, so the stories I've heard from my grandparents from World War II
Yeah.
are probably the same as your grandparents. You know, literally hiding Jews in the floorboards of um, their houses and stuff, and so
Yeah.
all that stuff happened, and everybody did it. Everybody tried to help
Hmm.
save people, and you know, it was crazy. It's crazy to hear to even think that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like my grandma, she had she told me, I didn't hear all these stories from her firsthand because she was closer with my cousin, and she told my cousin this story about how they, because like I think I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the way I'm interpreting in hindsight is that when Holland was taken over by the Nazis, each family kind of got a soldier to live with them to watch them to make sure they weren't doing anything hanky. And the guy who was living with my grandma's family, he was a Polish guy so he wasn't like a Nazi. He was kind of like Poland got taken over, and then they took the males from Poland and put them in the army and made them fight for Germany and stuff. And he didn't want to be there any more than anybody wanted him to be there. So he defected, and my grandma's family gave him a sack of potatoes and a bike and just like sent him on his way. And it was just like, that was it. And then like could you imagine, like in our time and age, we have cell phones and we know all this stuff and we could just email people, but could you imagine giving someone a sack of potatoes and a bike and being like, if they catch you, you're dead, but good luck, we wish the best of you, and then just never knowing what happened to that person?
Well, that's the funny thing about pre-internet, you know?
Yeah.
There was a time when you didn't know what happened to somebody. Now, I was on this specific topic. I was talking to some friends because where I grew up in Ontario, the Manitoulin, was in the news recently because a police officer was killed on the Manitoulin. This is a very small island in northern Ontario, very tiny community. So the fact that a police officer made national headlines is a big, big deal. And so I was thinking about some people back there and like sending messages to some old high school buddies saying, hey, whatever happened to this guy? And what are you doing these days? And I mean, in the 50s, if you move to Canada and you don't know what happened to that friend or that coworker, you just assume they're gone forever, right? You never hear from them again. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Now it's like every person you've ever met or communicated with in your life, you can check on if you need to.
Yeah, it's funny because you could just like, I remember we used to, me and my sister, when I was at her house last Christmas, we were on Facebook. It was like everybody else had gone to bed. We were drinking, so we're like, hey, holy shit, let's see what happened to everybody from our high school. So we'd go on Facebook and then we Googled them, and then we'd be like, holy shit, they have a huge family like this, and holy crap, they're living over here, and it's crazy. And it's just like, it's almost like, I don't know, like when you find out people who you used to know in your teenage years died, and you're like, whoa, didn't see that coming. And then, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of, yeah. So,
they died. That person, you remember that person? Yeah, they're dead now.
oh yeah. Oh, that was like my mom. She was like, hey, remember this guy from your high school class? Yeah. Oh, he's dead now. Is that the end of the story? Yeah. All right. That sucks. It's horrible for his family, but how did it happen? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, that's what I wanted to know.
Parents do that. My dad did that to me all the time. Yeah, remember that person that you knew from 35 years ago? Yeah, he died. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that,
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
Hopefully my dad's listening. My dad's probably listening to this podcast right now, but yes, so sorry, Dad. I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to be that dad one day. I'm going to phone up my children and say, hey, remember a person? Yeah, they're dead now. That's what dads and moms are for. They're for being out of touch and talking about awkward things you don't want to talk about.
Oh yeah, and I love the way like your parents bring up stuff, and it's like it should be awkward, but they're not awkward about it, so it's kind of like not awkward for you either. So it's just like this, like a subject matter that may be awkward. I'm trying to think of a example of this, but I can't really. But it's like they bring it up, and then it's just like a weird, not awkward situation.
Maybe that's the Dutch thing. I don't know if other people do that.
That would be interesting to find out. We gotta go talk to everybody and their parents and find out.
We gotta poll 47 non-Dutch people and 47 Dutch people. Just to test that.
Yeah, and then get like a double blind and all that stuff that I don't actually know what it means.
It's 95%. It's 95% effective, according to Pfizer.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we talk about your list of topics? I was really intrigued.
Yeah, we should. I tweeted that we would talk about. Usually, we don't get through everything. I'm sorry if you did a lot of research and some
I
of
did
it's
do
going to
any.
be
I
wasted.
did none.
Okay, that's good because then you're on the same level as me, pretty much. But I did tweet about we talk about the HBO movie thing, and fuck, what else did I tweet about? I
Well,
can't
start
even.
there. What do you think about it? I'm
Oh,
curious.
I am a huge fan. I'm so pumped because I've said it on the podcast a couple times, but I am not going into a theater anytime soon. I will not be in a dark room with other people's breath. Like, I just like basically everybody is a potential murderer just by breathing on you. And I don't want to be in a dark room where there's potentially someone behind me. So,
So I mean, yes, the
yeah.
COVID factor. I agree that whether it be a movie theater or a music venue or a restaurant or
Mm-hmm.
your living room or whatever it is, you have to take all the precautions. I kind of think that this is signaling what I've wanted for the movie industry to do for a very long time, which is start moving forward. Because,
Yeah.
like, as an example, I was talking to my friend who's in the movie industry, and I feel like the best stories are told in limited series now. And because of
Yes,
our
exactly.
dear friends at Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
like the Queen's Gambit, as an example, was such a great eight 8 hour, or yeah, a roughly 8 hour story,
Yeah.
that that's how a story should be told on screen now. It shouldn't be 2 hours in a theater. Although then the other side of the coin is theaters could one day be another experience where it's a 4D immersive experience you're not going to get at home. So I kind of feel like it's the right decision for HBO, and I think that hopefully it changes how stories on the screen are told, because the writing was on the wall when
Mm-hmm.
Netflix series started winning awards. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay. Oh, I guess I should explain exactly what happened. So I love how we start talking about it, and then I'm just like, well, yeah, people just know what we're talking about. But okay, so HBO, our Warner Brothers, signed a contract with HBO Max in the States or HBO Go. I can never remember which one's which. I think one of
It's
them's around
Max.
and one of
Pretty sure
them's,
it's
yeah.
Max. Yeah.
So they signed a contract with HBO Max so that all of Warner Brothers 2021 movies will be released to HBO Max at the same time they're released in theaters. So this is Wonder Woman 1984, Justice League Snyder Cut, the next Suicide Squad, Matrix 4, the new Space Jam. They're doing a live action Akira, which I didn't know until I looked up their list of movies. Um, yeah, so basically those are the ones. I don't know. No other production companies have decided if they're going to do that or not. I don't. I'd imagine Disney.
Well,
Disney, you think
tested it.
would?
Yes, Disney did Mulan, is like, because we have Disney for the kids
Mm-hmm.
and for The Mandalorian. Let's be
Oh yeah,
honest. But
and Clone Wars, which
yeah,
I'm
I've
deep
watched
in.
I've watched a lot of that, and it's
Yeah.
great. I binged the Avengers, blah blah blah, etc. etc.
Okay,
But
I'll stop interrupting you.
no, it's fine. I like it. I love being interrupted. No,
Yeah.
the Mulan was the test, and I actually don't think it worked out for them because they charged $35 to watch a movie, which is
Oh
totally fine.
yeah.
They can do whatever they want because it's really just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing the sticks.
Yeah.
But I I did like that they took that risk. So, but
Mm-hmm.
this HBO thing, I think, well, with specifically the Snyder cut, I mean, what were they going to do? Release part 1, 2, 3, and 4 in theaters? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would that should have never gone to theaters?
Oh,
It gives them more,
is that a
four
4 part
parts.
thing? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just going to be a movie.
Well, it is, but it's 4 hours because it's
Oh
Zack
wow,
Snyder,
that's
and
awesome.
it,
I'm
but it
pretty
could have been
pumped for
like
that.
this, like with him and his directing style. It could be
Yeah.
really immersive in a theater with like other senses. Like, I don't know, they say that they can do like water mist coming from the roof, or wind, or all kinds of other things they could do. I'm serious. They've talked about
Yeah.
4D, like crazy, like scents.
Imagine if they did like the sense or the water and they didn't tell you and you go to watch Aquaman or something, or and you just like get water vapor on the back of your neck and you're like, just like, I would freak out. Like, oh, what they could do is like haptic feedback vests, but then you'd have to share a vest. But like, I know some of them, what is it, D-Box, where they have like vibrating chairs that you could sit in that move and stuff.
And that's cool.
Yeah, I haven't tried that out, but I do enjoy the VIP. On one hand, so I just wanted to go back and say I don't hate movie theaters generally. I just do right now, but I am going to miss seeing like action movies on the big screen. Like just like huge like you know, when you used to watch Star Wars, like
Star Wars,
they'd come out and you'd go to the theater and it'd be awesome, and it'd be like a little different experience than watching them on Disney Plus.
I love going to the theater. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last theater movie I went to was Star Wars, so there you go.
Oh yeah.
And before that was the Joker, and that's it. Or Joker, sorry. Other than that, I hadn't really seen. I can't even think of what movies I've seen in theaters in the last year. Excluding the pandemic, I mean. But I think that the medium is slowly dying, and I think part of that is the pandemic. Because the movies that are coming out now, I'm like, I don't know, like there's nothing. No, there's been one or two okay movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, I even watched Chicago 7, which is a Netflix movie, because people were talking about it, or the trial, the Chicago trial.
Oh yeah, I think it was called the Chicago 7, and it was some trial or something, or the trial of the Chicago 7.
Really well done, but again, with movies like any kind of movie.
Yeah,
it has to really draw you in, and that, it's hard to explain, but that kind of movie normally would, but it didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just I've watched too much TV this past year, for just like everybody. So it's got to be really good.
Yeah. I agree with you what you said before about the best way to tell stories is by splitting it up into limited series. Like I'm watching the Bond series since it's on like Crave. It came on Crave at the beginning of the month, so I was like, I'm going to watch all the Bonds, and I think I'm on the 20th one now, and they all pretty much, at least the older, I think there's 16 before the Pierce Brosnan ones. All of them for sure could have been split up into 4 half-hour increments, because they almost, like each one, like they have the opening half hour, which is like introducing the risks and the character, and there's like a bunch of action. Then it slows down for like some exposition storyline. Then there's like another half hour of like interplay of characters and like
schmooze,
and then it's like
Bond.
Exactly, stress is rising. Then the last half hour is like the climax and the action. So it's like if they would have split that up, it would have been a lot easier. And I'm
doing the same thing.
Oh yeah? Which one are you on?
Well, I did it in a weird way.
Oh yeah, you texted me. You started at the end and went backwards, right?
Yeah, I wanted to watch each Bond, like starting with Danny Craig, start with him, watch his movies, then watch Pierce Brosnan, watch his movies, and then go back kind of backwards.
Yeah.
Except the problem with GoldenEye is that it's not dated like the storyline or the dialogue, but how it's shot is so dated and slow. Movies in the 90s were like that. So
oh buddy, they get so much worse. It's funny because when I finally got to GoldenEye, I was like a breath of fresh air, because it's like it's the only time that there's like a 6-year gap in the Bond series, because there's like every 2 years for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And on those 6 years, like it progressed so much, like the actions like better, and the like, I guess, and it's funny because like you brought up like how it was shot and it was slow in the 90s. Like if you watch one from the 70s, which I think is probably the worst kind of decade for Bond, because when it came out, it was like fresh, and it was like they were kind of like, this is what we're doing. It's the 60s, and it's kind of cool. And then like the last half of the 70s, they just get like really cheesy and kind of dumb.
Well, Roger Moore is probably, he did the most Bonds, but he's good at the beginning, but by the end you're like, he was clearly phoning it in, right?
Dude, he was 50. I think he was like 58 in the last one he did, and you can tell every day of that age because like yours, he did. I think he did 7, and the first 4 you're like okay, and then by the 4th one you're like you're kind of getting old there, guy, and then 5 you're like Jesus, he did 2 movies after this, and it's like yeah, and it's funny because if you're gonna watch them. I would say don't watch all 7 Moore. Just watch The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker because they're the 2 with Jaws, and they're the best Moore movies, I think. Other people would disagree with me for sure.
I know The Spy Who Loved Me is good. I was gonna watch Pierce Brosnan, but I think probably what I'll do is go back to Sean Connery.
Yeah,
because I think they're probably the best like Bond movies in my head because I do like the fact that Casino Royale all the way to whatever the newest one is, Quantum of Solace. Then what's the newest one? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's
but
one that's coming out. There's one that's coming out next year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like the 4 movies with Danny Craig are a story. It is an arc, which I like. And
yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do with the new one, but if I go back to Sean Connery, there is sort of a thin storyline. Did you find
it's
that?
The Spectre group is in those first ones, and it's kind of like the tail end of Connery. Like I think Spectre's introduced in I just From Russia with Love maybe, but it's like the arc starts with Connery, then that one Lazenby movie. The arc accumulates because they killed Bond's wife, and then it goes into the Moore movies, and then because the leader of Spectre was I think Bodell or something. I can't remember his name. It's like you watch 20 Bond movies and they all just kind of like turn into a mashed potato.
It's all like the same villain and it's the same hero over and over, right?
Yeah, and it's different actors that play the villain, so I kind of like because I'm my worst habit for watching movies or TV or anything is I don't remember people's names. I remember their faces. Like I'll see a guy, I'm like, oh, that's that guy. He's bad, whatever. And then they switch the bad guy like to a different actor, and I'm like, who's that guy? And I'm just supposed to know because they mentioned his name at the beginning of the movie, and I don't pick it up. But yeah, so it's like he's fighting Spectre, and then the same group comes back for the Daniel Craig movies. And it's like a reboot of that whole story arc.
That was the whole intention. Yeah, they wanted to reboot Bond, and I think they achieved it. I mean, those movies I don't even view them really as Bond. I view them as great movies that had a spy. It's great. It's great. I like it.
Yeah, I think Brosnan's my favorite Bond, but I think that's because that's what I started with. Like my first Bond movie was GoldenEye, because it came out when I was 15, and then I just watched all of them from that point on, and I hadn't seen any of the old ones until like this month. But it's like it's funny because each actor of Bond offers something different than the other ones. Like Sean Connery was the introduction of the character, but in all the Sean Connery movies, he was already like a well-established spy, and he was already James Bond. But then, if you go to the Daniel Craig movies, it's like it starts before he was like Bond, and it's like they like made it so it was a little rough around the edges, and he wasn't like a complete spy yet. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I think my opinion on it is probably the same as yours, which the best quote archetypal Bond, maybe what's the writer's name? And anyway, I think that
I don't know writers at all.
Pierce Brosnan is probably Bond.
Yeah,
like he probably to me is what exemplifies all of the attributes of Bond. But Sean Connery is probably, the greatest on-screen Bond.
Yeah,
Danny Craig, I think. I call him Danny because it's really funny, but he
that is.
I love those.
Funny.
I love those movies, and I love him as an actor. I always have.
Yeah, did you see The Limey?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I started loving Daniel Craig. Or Danny
He's
Craig.
been in a couple things.
Yeah.
He was in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That was really good.
Oh yeah, I never
That
saw
played an
those.
interesting character.
I
He's
heard
just in
all
the
the
one.
yeah,
He
I heard
was
all
in
the
the one movie.
oh yeah, I heard all the bad stuff that happened in that movie. I'm like, I don't feel like I want to watch that. Like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that either. But it was like,
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, moving forward. What else is on your list? What
Oh
else is
yeah,
making
let's
headlines this
just
week?
talk about Bond for half an hour. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the list on my phone because
Is it
uh
the monolith?
oh yeah, we could talk about the monoliths. This is really something that caused much outrage in the internet or in the wild as per se, but it's just something that I'm like, oh, fucking monolith? Yeah, let's talk about that because I love
What
anything to do with like paranormal or aliens or shit. So what happened
what do you
was
what's your theory? Oh yeah, tell the world what it is first.
okay. So if you're not
Frame
familiar
it.
with just me saying monoliths and then you know exactly what happened. So in Utah, there was a helicopter going around and they were counting sheep, which is hilarious in and of itself. But as they were flying
Utah.
around counting like these herds of sheep, they saw like a glint, like a reflection, and like, what's that? This is like fucking barren Utah wildlands. There's not supposed to be anything out there. So they circled back around, and then there was this big fucking metal monolith in like a little canyon, and I think it was like 12 feet tall, a foot wide, and like 4 feet wide. And then there was just like, what the fuck is this? And then nobody had any idea what it was. And then one popped up in some European country.
Romania.
Yeah,
Romania.
thank you. Have you ever hosted a podcast before? Because you'd be good for it. Yeah, so one popped up in Romania, and it's like, I mean, I want it to be aliens or supernatural and stuff, but it's probably just stuff people built and put out there. Like the one in Utah, they were saying was probably an artist installation, and which you never know. Like it could be some alien like signage thing. And then,
Well, do you remember the crop circles?
yeah, is that still a
It,
thing?
I don't know, but nobody knew what it was, so everyone thought it was aliens.
Yeah,
And then it just turned out to be some artists, basically, right?
yeah.
Farmers slash artists. And this kind of smells like that in my head, but yeah, you're right. It's far more fun to think paranormal to me.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And there's like a couple, like there's that one that in Romania that popped up, but then there's like, it seems like there's a bunch of like copycat ones popping up now. And it would be funny if like if each one got like progressively worse and more hastily made, because the first one was like probably polished like stainless steel and looked really good. And then you'd like just get to where it's like fucking fence boards hammered together and just like propped up in the like field somewhere.
Well, I know if they find one in East Van, I know who put it there.
Oh, really? Was
Yeah,
it the?
you. Is it
Oh
you?
yeah, no, I don't live in East Van. I live in Burnaby.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. So if
The same, right?
yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Like if you go east in East Van, eventually you hit Burnaby. So,
Yeah, like Eastern Vancouver is Burnaby.
yeah, yeah, there you go.
Sort of. I'm further east than that. Anyway.
Yeah. And if you find one in Burnaby, it's probably not me because I'm not going to put that much time and effort into something that people won't praise me for. Like if I put one up, I'll be like, I put that up. It was me. Everybody tell me how good it is.
Speaking of praising you for that, did you see the prayer candle that I'm giving out as a gift if you buy my record, which comes out on January 15th?
Oh my God, no! Show me. Do you have one handy, or do you have to get up?
No, I don't. I don't physically have one. I can text you the photo, but yeah,
that's awesome.
On Instagram.
Yeah,
prayer candles on me.
Is that of you? Is that an LP? After he texts me, I'll put it in the show notes. Is it an LP? Does that include that Christmas single you released on December 1st on Spotify?
I don't know if my Christmas single that I just released on December 1st on Spotify will be on my full-length record, which is released after Christmas, but that's a good point. That's a good point. Should I? I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. that I'm being shameless about self promo, but
Hey.
one thing I'll say is that when Julian Casablancas of the Strokes released his solo record, and I saw him play at Coachella in 2010, he actually played his Christmas song because he only had whatever 8 songs and he needed an extra one. So there you go. And my record is 9 tracks, and then so the Christmas song would mean 10, and that feels completest. The number 10.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It does sound a lot more like full length record than
Yeah, if you say 9 songs, you're like, well, that's not a full length. That's one short.
What was I gonna say? I totally spaced. Oh, I was gonna ask you, like, this has nothing to do with the monolith, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing really to add to the monolith anyway. I mean, maybe if we build a monolith in East, let's just build it in East Van, and then just put your prayer candles all around it, and we can have it as like a shrine to your newest album coming out.
Well, yes. And did you guys talk about the skateboarder with the cranberry juice listening to Fleetwood Mac a few months ago?
I don't know if we talked about that,
Because
but
it doesn't outrage anyone. But one thing I will say, and it's Fleetwood Mac doesn't really outrage me, other than the fact that they fired their founding member. But it's fine. I guess he had to be fired. But the one thing I would say about that whole skateboarder with the cranberry juice, is it felt like it was a complex social media, like guerrilla marketing campaign.
Marketing for Fleetwood Mac, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, no, of cranberry juice.
Yeah. Because it worked,
Ocean
though.
Spray, Ocean Spray is huge right now. Everybody's mimicking that video.
Yeah, because it worked, because Fleetwood Mac streams of that song went through the roof, didn't they?
They did, but also cranberry juice is huge. So this is what the monolith thing feels like. It feels like a complex social media marketing. It might be a Kanye thing. Is Kanye putting a record out? Maybe it's him.
Oh my God, that would be brilliant. But you think that'd be weird, because it's like it would be cool if he did it, but he's more like in the God area now, so he would do something more religious than just a monolith, I feel. Like, but I see where you're going. Like, if it was like someone as a marketing ploy, it would be so good. But it's like, and it's weird because if you think about it, and if the monolith was just like a social media marketing thing, how long is too long to wait to announce what it's for? Because with this monolith, it came, what, like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and I think the life cycle of a social media campaign is probably like right about now.
Yeah, like only a couple weeks before people just forget about it and be like, oh yeah, what monolith?
Yeah. Who cares, man? I don't like that thing. It's stupid. Yeah, exactly. Time's run out. We've moved on to the new thing, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you, when we were talking about all of your delicious music that is on Spotify right now that you can go listen to, I noticed that you and some other bands, you release singles. Is that kind of like a thing where it's like, so it keeps popping up in the new, or is it just like you want to get it out as you work so you don't wait like however long it takes to make an album?
Yeah, well, these days specifically on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. I think that the way artists are kind of doing this now is releasing singles, and then you kind of package it into a record at the end. Yeah. And so we talked about that with my producer JP, and then my label people. We talked about it like, should we just hold back 4 or 5 songs, or should we go like the whole record, or what should we do? And I was kind of like, no, let's hold 4 songs back. And then JP actually was the other way. He's like, don't release it all.
Yeah.
And then we split the middle. So we're leaving a couple tracks off of it.
Okay.
But that's just, it feels like that's how it's done now. It's lame. A lot of people are, I mean, if you want to be outraged, musicians are outraged about Spotify, right?
Oh, I've heard bad things that they're not, I don't know, they're just not living that rich rock star lifestyle off Spotify.
Well, Spotify doesn't pay a lot per stream.
Yeah.
But why should they? I'm kind of like pragmatic or measured on this topic because
Hmm.
in the old days of MySpace didn't pay a cent to anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
But in the
And
old days when you
TikTok's
were,
not paying anybody, so they're the real bad guys here.
well, no, they actually do. They
Oh, do
do.
they?
Yeah, it's not a ton, but
Hmm.
you get whatever streaming royalty you get.
Okay.
But the thing with all of these platforms is that it's changed how we all consume everything. Like Netflix has changed how we consume TV and movies, and Spotify has changed how people listen to music. Like I don't hold as much value in an artist's album as I used to for some reason, even though the same amount of effort or maybe even more effort is put into it nowadays. But
Yeah, I'm
yes,
finding like because when I was younger and I would like before the internet streaming and all that, I would get an album and it was like you couldn't just buy like 10 albums and then listen to each one like 3 or 4 times and then move on. But with streaming, there's no real investment per like album. So it's like if I go on Spotify and I listen to an album and then I don't like feel like I have to keep listening to it just because I paid $20 for that album, whereas I
yeah,
paid just for access to all this music. But I kind of am enjoying Spotify a lot. Like I know it kind of sucks for some musicians and stuff, but it'll be like I'll be out doing something, listening to music, and I'll be like, "Oh shit, remember that song?" And then I could just look it up and play it, and it's
no, I love it.
amazing.
For music lovers, it's the best thing ever invented, and I don't care what
Oh
any
yeah.
musician says. It is like it just that's the way it is, and I love it. It's so great.
Hmm.
I love the fact that I can make a workout playlist or a study playlist or a work playlist
Hmm.
or a jazz playlist or a Christmas thing, and I love that, and it's so good. It creates it for you, and sometimes it's actually pretty good. And we listen to a lot of kids' music because the kiddies are at home,
Yeah.
and it's friggin' awesome. And you can get the new, like John Lennon just released his quote ultimate mix, but I um, don't necessarily want to buy the record, but I want to hear it to know if I want to buy it, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
did, and it's awesome. So
Did you
I can
say
listen to
John
everything I
Lennon?
want to.
John Lennon
John
or
Lennon, yeah, he's in
oh
a band. He was in a band in the '60s.
wait, do you what band was that? Do you like them? It was funny because I guess I should explain the joke I'm trying to allude to. Marty was actually playing in a Beatles tribute band at our friend and past podcast guest Sean Burke's wedding, and yeah, he played Beatles songs. And then I was telling him about my joke about asking the band to play Wings songs because I still feel like the Wings are better than the Beatles, and not a single person in the world agrees with me, and I'm fine with that.
I I don't mind. I don't mind it. I'm not actually so. This talking about the Beatles with me is really hard to unpack. But
Hmm.
I'll just keep it really brief. I'm a John Lennon guy, but I love McCartney, but in my own weird way. I love him
Yeah.
like you love your weird uncle.
Ah.
Yeah, he's the guy. Yeah. I guess I have to like him because he's my uncle. That kind of thing.
You have to like
McCartney's
him
not.
because he
He's
was
not
in
my
the
uncle,
band.
but
Yeah.
he was in the Beatles, so I have no choice. Kind of like that.
Yeah. See, where I'm like, I'm a McCartney guy, and like the songs that McCartney wrote for the Beatles, I like more than the songs that Lennon wrote. And
Well, he has Hey Jude, which is fine.
yeah, and
That
then
was a good
that
one.
was pretty good. Fuck.
No, it's incredible.
I'm probably gonna out myself on here, but did Lennon or McCartney write Strawberry Fields?
That was Lennon. So if that's one of your favorite songs, that means
That
Lennon is
is one
one
of
of
my
your.
favorite songs.
Yeah, no, that's Lennon. All Lennon. Sorry,
Yeah.
Paul.
But McCartney did write Band on the Run and
It
Jet.
incredible song. Band on the
Those
Run is
songs.
one of my favorites ever.
Yeah.
Like actually, to unpack that slightly, Band on the Run, Bohemian Rhapsody. Um, there's a couple of other songs like this where it's like has multiple movements in it, and it's really long, and it takes you through a journey. I've always wanted to write a song like that. But Band on the Run is friggin' amazing. Yeah, I love that song so much.
Yeah, I like that line. It's like, give it all away. All we need's a pint a day.
It's a
like,
great song.
Ooh, and I don't like it as much, but it's like it's one of those songs that's just like hauntingly like was it the Mall of McIntyre?
McIntyre, yeah.
Yeah, that song's like it's like haunting. It's good. Oh yeah, back to your music. I just wanted to say it's like when we were talking about the singles thing, I was gonna say like I realized that bands were doing this like I guess like a year or so ago when this band I like kept popping up and because Spotify has this option where you can listen to like an automatically generated playlist of new releases. So this band kept popping up like every like month, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, they have a new album out," and I'd be like, "Oh, it's a single," and then it'd be like, "Oh shit, they have a new album out." No, it's just another single. So I feel like it's just like the evolution of bands having to release singles is so that they keep popping up in people's like automated lists like that.
Yeah, they joke. We joke in the music circles to trick the algos.
Ah, nice. Those
I don't
algos.
I don't make that joke, but other people do, and I like it. It's funny, like shortening the word algorithm down to algo. Weird.
That is funny. It's funny because it's like it gives you like a certain like friendly vibe from like basically the robot mind, and it's like, yeah, I like it. It's like, oh, old Algo is gonna get my song played. Yeah.
Uncle
Funny.
Algo, that's Paul McCartney's new single.
Yeah. I don't know about his music that he's written lately. I haven't really heard anything that he's done that's brand new.
So he put out an album in 2013 or 14 called New,
Yeah.
and it was produced partially by Paul Epworth.
Who's that?
Paul Epworth started out in the 2000s producing a little band called Block Party, so I got really into them.
Oh, I love Block Party.
And then he did Editors, I believe, which is another great band, and he moved on from there, but he ended up doing Adele and then McCartney.
I've heard Adele's had some success.
Yeah, she's famous.
Hey, was this McCartney album, was this before or after Kisses on the Bottom?
I think it was before. The one before it, directly before it.
Probably the worst named album ever.
I don't know what the hell he just doesn't have a filter. He doesn't have Lennon saying, "Don't do that."
I think it was probably, yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't know if he was like talking about kissing a girl's butt or if it was like people who were on the bottom of society or like kissing each other, like two hobos kissing each other, like that's a kiss on the bottom. I don't know.
Or the bass notes is the bottom.
That's a good way to put. That's a musician way to think of it too.
Yeah, I don't know, but what a terrible album name, you're right.
I mean, of all the things you can name an album, just like, I mean, I guess people remember it. Like, I never listened to it, but I still remember the name of that album. Like, it's just like, it's like a record scratch when you hear it. You're like, Kisses on the Bottom. It's like, Rrr. You're like, what? Who wrote that?
Oh, you're crazy. Yeah. What else is on our list of headlines?
Okay, I'm going to hit you up with that. I mean, we could talk about Jake Paul versus Evander Kane boxing match. Kane. You think that Evander Kane would win?
That guy's. Say what you want about Evander Kane. I'm a fan. I don't know why. I think he's kind of like beats to his own drum, and I'm a big hockey fan, as you know. And I love the outsider. I freaking always cheer for the outsider, and he's the outsider. And he doesn't give a crap about what people think of him, and he'll say whatever he wants with little or no filter.
Yeah.
And I kind of like people with, because he's not offending anyone. He's not some extreme anti-masker or something trying to sing the Canadian national anthem, but he's not afraid to like step into a conversation and speak his mind.
Yeah.
and I like him. I think I don't even know who this Jake Paul guy is, a YouTuber. And
Way back when Vine was a thing, there's the Paul brothers, there's Jake Paul and Logan Paul, and they got kind of famous off Vine, and then they turned that into like YouTuber. Like Jake Paul, they used to do like travel stuff, and he got infamous. I think we talked about it like a couple of years ago on the podcast. He went to the suicide forest in Japan, and he taped himself, and there was like it's like the suicide forest in Japan is this place basically where people go to commit suicide, and nobody knows like why or how it started, but I think it's just that since it's known as that, people go there. It's like when you put locks on a bridge, you go there and put locks there because that's where you put them, and nobody knows why it started, but that's just what people do. So this forest where people go to commit suicide, he went there to tape it as like kind of being like, ooh, maybe we'll see ghosts or whatever. And then in the background of him taping it, there was a person, like a body hanging from one of the trees, and he like pointed and laughed at it and made fun of the dead guy. And then yeah, and then everybody lost their shit. And now he does a podcast, and they're just like, they're kind of like on the lower level. They're like internet celebrities, but they never bridge the gap to be like real life, like our parents would know who they are celebrities. And Jake Paul has been, I think he's been training as a boxer for like over a year, because I think over a year ago, another YouTuber challenged him. So he started training for boxing, and then he kind of, I don't know, I guess he got into it. And then a basketball player was like, oh, you're just a YouTuber, bullshit, I'll challenge you. And then he just beat that basketball player. And now Evander Kane was like, I'll fight him or whatever. So I think the way they're famous is through Vine, then YouTube, then podcasts.
So Evander Kane watched the basketball match with this Jake Paul guy and said, I don't like you, so I'm going to fight you now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on team Evander Kane. I don't even know. People probably won't side with anyone. I'm going to side with Evander Kane.
I think this is one of those things where a lot of people want Jake Paul because they don't like that this like loudmouth asshole who disrespects stuff keeps beating his opponents. They want him to get beat. So I don't know, like I want Evander Kane to win because I like Evander Kane more than Jake Paul, but I think since Jake Paul's been training for boxing over a year, he might just kind of like he won't have the toughness or knockout power that Evander Kane, but I think he'll do that thing where you like outbox someone where you kind of just like dodge their punches and kind of dance around and wear them out. And then like I want Evander Kane to win, but I don't know if he would, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, boxing is a sport, and I'm not going to minimize that sport.
Yeah.
And if you're training and trained in that sport, you're going to have a competitive advantage over just a really great athlete, which is what a hockey player is. Every hockey player is an immense athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I would say is that Evander Kane, as an athlete, probably knows how to train better than this other guy because he is a professional athlete, only because of that. So Jake Paul is a YouTube star, not a person who trains daily for his career, I guess. So
yeah. And that basketball player was an ex-basketball player, so he wasn't in like competing shape, so to say, for basketball. Whereas Evander Kane, I think if he's, because he wants to do it, I think next summer after this season of hockey, so he'll get back into playing shape, and I think he'll have. Actually, you're right. Like saying, if he's in like good shape for hockey, that means he'll have a lot of endurance, and that actually might go into boxing really well.
I like how we're like trying to really get down to the details about how it would go down. That's how I think. I'm like, well, if you think about it this way, he probably, and so I'm on team Evander Kane, and I think based on what I know about hockey players, which is they're honestly monsters. Mm-hmm. Like I watch, of course, being a hockey fan, I spend a lot of time kind of following all these hockey players online and stuff, and they're basically training 8 hours a day, every day.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
So and Evander Kane's no different. I mean, I remember when he played for the Giants, he was just a freaking beast then, and he's a great player. He's outspoken and brash, and I like that, and I like him. I wish he played for my team.
And you're a Canucks fan, I'm assuming?
So I'm not, but I am. So that's a
Yeah.
weird thing to say.
I
was
Okay,
a
you
fan
go.
of the Canucks
Hmm.
in my youth. My number one team is the team that I grew up cheering for in Ontario, and I always liked the Canucks when I was out there as well because they have such a great team with Bure and stuff. And then
Oh yeah.
when I moved to Vancouver, Vancouverites don't love the team I cheer for, so it made
Hmm.
it harder for me to cheer for the local
Are you
team
just
because I'm such a
are
big
you avoiding saying the one that has like the blue logo with the writing on it?
yeah with the like the same symbol as the Canadian flag on it. Yeah,
I was like
but in blue, not
Ontario, and then I was thinking, I was like, oh, you got something to cheer for though right now. Like I love Austin Matthews, like that dirt stash he's got. He's just like such a
yeah. No,
card.
that he's like that particular player and that athlete. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's Sidney Crosby or Nathan McKinnon or whoever. You're going to cheer for that kind of player, and we've got one of those. But the Canucks have players like that too now, Hughes and Pedersen, and it's really easy to cheer for them. And I really,
Oh
really
yeah.
love Travis Green. Travis Green is a wonderful man, and
Hmm.
I know a lot about him because he was a former Leaf, and
Okay.
he supports autism in the community, and I think he's just a fantastic human. And I love how
Yeah.
ornery he is. So, but yeah, hockey.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. Like I like the Canucks, but they're my second favorite team. They were because it's like I find that having a home team, it's hard not to cheer for them, but because just the guys the best because you see them like on social media or out and about or people are talking about them, and you see those games the most because they're like on local broadcasts and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like everybody should have a favorite team and then have a second favorite team because, or even like five favorite teams. My favorite team is the Oilers, and it was basically that was the first team I ever liked because my grandpa liked them, and then I stopped liking hockey for a while, and then I came back to liking hockey in the mid 2000s, and then I was cheering for the Canucks because they had that playoff run. And then when I moved here, I was like, well, I'm going to like the Canucks because I live here. And I fucking loved the Sedins. But then after the Sedins left, I was kind of like, this team's not like. And then you see over in Alberta, they got fucking Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and you're like, oh, the Oilers. I used to love them when I was a kid. And then, so it's kind of just like, I don't know, like Peterson's a really good hockey player, but he's kind of like he's kind of showing some more personality now. But for like the last 2 years, it's just like that, like they call him the alien because he looks like an alien and he doesn't really talk and stuff. But he did a episode of Spit and Chicklets, so you kind of get to know him. So I am warming to him, and I love Hughes just because he's a card. Like he did last year, they did a Santa picture, and he was dressed up like an elf. And it's like anybody who's willing to just make an ass of themselves for like a laugh, I'm a big fan of. So like they are getting a team, but it's not McDavid and Draisaitl. It's so hard to compete with that.
No, no, the Oilers. I'm a fan of the Oilers for the same reason that probably your grandfather was, which is Gretzky, right?
Yeah.
I always cheered for the Oilers because I love their jersey. I love Gretzky, and I lived in Winnipeg area while they were successful. So I kind of they were in an like in the sphere of my world, I guess,
Hmm.
as a kid. But um, yeah, I think that the NHL, and this kind of moves towards the next topic, which is the anthem singer. But the
Oh, look
the
at
way
you.
the way the NHL is moving is they want more fans like you who say, I want to cheer for the player who, and regardless of where they go, like if
Hmm.
that player goes, like if Austin Matthews became a like a Calgary Flame, which is God forbid, kill me
Ugh.
now, but they would want me to be cheering for that team because that's what they want. They want you to follow the players more
Hmm.
than the team. Whereas hockey fans are so loyal. Like I'm like the Leafs were last place, and I watched every game. It was ridiculous. I watched it, but because I love the game, I do honestly love hockey, and that's why shameless plug here for my album. If you listen to it, it has a song called "Rattle the Glass," which is my ode to hockey.
It's also a single right now that's available right now on Spotify.
And if you buy my album on Bandcamp, you get that song right away, I believe. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, hockey I love the sport, and even if my team's losing, I'm going to watch it. But I think the NHL truly wants you to follow the players as they move around and be a fan of different teams because the players are moving, I think, maybe. Anyway.
I'm okay with that. Like, I still, every time Hall lands on a new team, I'm like, oh, I'll check him out. I'll see what happens. Like, now that he's in Buffalo, I'm like, oh, Hall's in Buffalo, is he? What's it going to be like playing with Eichel? So it's like, I'm not devoted to just the players, but the players, like, if I see a player who I like, it's not like I'm going to stop liking that player. Like, what's his face? Why can't I remember this guy's name? The guy who used to play for Calgary,
Iginla?
Yeah, I fucking loved Iginla because I used to live in Calgary for a couple of years, and when I was there, I worked at the newspaper, and in the newsroom they would have the game up, and so you'd always see Iginla. And then I met him once because I was doing a photo shoot for when I lived in Kamloops. There's the team called the Kamloops Blazers.
Blazers, yeah.
And he was one of the owners, and they were doing a jersey release launch. So it was him, Shane Doan, Mark Recchi, and some other guy who I can never remember his name. And so, like, I did like a photo shoot for them to get like promotional material, and I met him and Shane Doan are fucking, they're like the nicest guys ever. Like, you'll never meet nicer, like, especially for how famous and popular were. Like, they were both franchise players, and they're still like, oh, how's it going? Nice to meet you. That's good. And they like actually cared that you were a person. Whereas that guy, I can't remember his name. He was a dickhead. So that's probably why I can't remember his name. I guess
that's the thing about
Googling, yeah.
Iggy. Yeah, he's kind of famous for that, being a true Canadian. Yeah. And that, by the way, the Sedins were like that too, just in public. For Henrik specifically, I don't know about Daniel, but Henrik was famous for being like, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. And they did a lot in the community, and I definitely cheered for them for that. And in Toronto, they've, every city has that player, who's the guy go. That's what hockey players are kind of famous for, like being low key and being Canadian,
Yeah, being like classy gents. Like,
yeah,
usually there's not very many cocky. Like, there's some cocky hockey players, but there's no like, I'm the team's nothing without me. But I guess it's like you need guys to pass you the puck before you can score a goal. So you can't really get too cocky and shoot down your teammates.
No, but I kind of like the cockiness. That's the way Austin Matthews, as an example, how he comes off is like this kind of like mischievous like cockiness, which I like because he's super talented. Like he is, but he should be to a certain degree cocky in the sense that he is great. And I'm not saying he's the best, and I'm not saying that the Leafs are the best, but I do like that one thing about him. And Taylor Hall kind of had that too early. He kind of came off a little bit cocky, but for some reason I'm cheering for Taylor Hall. I don't know why. I think I just like the fact that he's failed. I like that. Like, he's totally failed it over and over.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, he did win the Hart like 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, you're right, he did. But I mean, other than that, he's failed miserably.
Well, I just want to say, like, as per how cocky, like, even Ovechkin's super cocky, but they're cocky compared to other hockey players. Like, they're not nearly as cocky as, say, like a basketball player or a football player. Like, they are
Mahomes,
cocky. Yeah, they are cocky to a point, but they're not like you hate them, but you like them because you're on your team. Like, I like how, like, I've always liked Ovechkin more than Crosby, just because Ovechkin's like a little bit cocky, or maybe even more than a little bit, and that seems more genuine to me.
Real. Yeah, it's more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how I just like was talking about how much I love the nice guys and stuff, and then now I'm like, oh, but I actually love the assholes too. But it's
Well,
like,
no,
yeah,
Ovechkin isn't an asshole. He's just a showboat, and
yeah,
that's really cool. I like that.
and I find it more genuine because if I was nearly as good as Ovechkin, I wouldn't shut up about how good I was, and I'd probably like if I had the skills of a hockey player, I'd be more like a Matthews or an Ovechkin. Like I'd be cocky, but not too bad. Like I feel like I'd still be likable, but I wouldn't be like McDavid, where he's just like so nice and isn't like I'm the best player in the league. Shut up.
Do you and Derek talk about hockey this much?
No, this is the most we've ever talked about hockey probably on this podcast. Well, sometimes like something in the media. This is the most we've talked about hockey without it being pertaining to a specific incident.
So we're not we might be alienating a portion of your audience right now.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's funny because we alienated the hockey players by talking about James Bond for half an hour, and now that we're talking about hockey for this long, it's alienating anybody who was here for the James Bond conversation.
And the monolith people are like, I thought this was an alien conspiracy theory podcast. Yeah,
they're like, you talked about it for like 5 minutes.
I thought we were going to Area 51. I thought we were going to go to Area 51 and figure out what happened there. Because on the Connor McDavid topic, did you see his house? What did you like? That should make the headlines on this podcast.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit with Pat last week, but I'm okay with it because as much as I love the Oilers, that's a lot of fucking orange. And to look at that much orange all day when you go home after the games of practice, you kind of just want to not have something assault your eyes. So maybe he just like wants to look at like grays to kind of like when you smell coffee beans after you smell perfume to just kind of reset your palate. Maybe he just wants to reset his eyes.
I loved it. I thought it was like stark and like Spartan, but also opulent at the same time. It was awesome.
The best joke ever would have been if he was like sitting at his gray dinner table in the gray or on the gray couch in his gray room, and he was like, I'm just about to listen to my pump up music, and he just puts on like The Cure or something super depressing as like his pump up for the hockey game music.
Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division.
Oh, that would be such a good song. That'd be a good
national record.
Yeah. Oh,
some Leonard Cohen.
The national.
Just darkness.
Oh yeah.
Well, so
that I Need My Girl song by the National.
We should finish our hockey expose here with Mark Donnely, the now.
Oh, that's a good call. So, anybody who didn't know, Mark Donnely rose to fame-ish. I'm going to say he's fame-ish. I'm going to coin that phrase too. But he was the national anthem singer for the Vancouver Canucks. So every home game, he would sing the national anthem. And then it's kind of his only gig that I know of. Like he'll get, this is something I didn't know. Like people would just hire a national anthem singer to play at their like events and stuff, and I'm like, why would you listen to the national anthem? Like, so what happened?
He's a music teacher in his day gig.
Oh, is he? So he got hired to play at. Oh fuck! What did I tell? Like, it's basically an anti-masker rally, but that's not like technically what they're calling it. They're calling it like the Christmas Freedom Rally or something, and he got hired to play at this, and I was like, well, on one hand, it's really bad to sing the national anthem for anti-maskers because that just means you're closed-minded and you're not willing to wear a mask and you're kind of selfish and you're just not kind of towing the line so that making it life easier for everybody else. And then I was like, well, maybe he's just doing it for a gig. Maybe he got hit hard with COVID because there's not many events for him to sing at. But then I saw a tweet that when that was today, the rally, when he sang there, he was talking about it, and he was like, I guess I don't have a national anthem gig with the Canucks, or he's like, I don't have the gig over at Rogers Place anymore, so I'm going to sing this song with the old words. And he was pertaining to the national anthem and how it used to say by all thy sons command, and then they changed it. So I just
Right.
lost all sympathy for him, because it's like, oh, he's just a fucking closed-minded dickhead.
I don't know anything about him other than his singing on the ice.
Yeah.
But I think that Mr. Aquilini handled it in kind of a hilarious and modern 2020 kind of way, which is
yeah,
that he's his former anthem singer.
yeah,
I liked how it was handled. I mean, the guy, I don't know what his personal beliefs are, and to be frank, it sounds like they don't agree with what I believe, but I guess he's Canadian, so he can sing the anthem to some Canadians, because every Canadian has the same charter rights and freedoms. But yeah, I mean, come on, it's 2020. Everybody knows what's going on. Just like don't be stupid. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I roll my eyes because it's so like ignorant, for the sake of like standing on a hill that you're going to die on, for the sake of standing on a hill that you're going to die on.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly
like,
even die. Possibly literally even die on.
yeah,
But it's just so like ignorant for no reason. Like, even if you in your heart of hearts are kind of like, well, I don't really want to wear a mask though,
yeah,
you just don't tell anybody. Stay at home. Like, what people are going to think of you. You're going to lose your job, maybe.
yeah, exactly.
So, like, if you're, quote, an educated human, which is anybody, basically, he sounds like he's a teacher. Like, he knows what's going to happen. He's not stupid. So, like, does he want the public to kind of eat him alive? Like, I don't know.
It's yeah.
Don Cherry, going back to last year. It's kind of like Don Cherry. He knew the public was going to eat him alive and he was going to lose his job, but he said what he said anyway.
Yeah.
And he knew better. It's like this Mark Donnely. He knew better, but he did it anyway, knowing he was going to lose his job, because he wanted to stand on a hill that he's going to die on for no reason. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. It's like that protest serves no purpose. Like, what are you going to do? Be like, okay, you specific people don't have to wear a mask, and now we can all get, like, more people can die of this disease. I get, like, on one hand, I get not wanting to do stringent lockdowns because people won't make enough money to live and they will lose money. But for me, there is no argument you can put forward on why not to wear a mask. Like, some people have asthma, but you could just, like, wear a mask kind of loose so you could breathe in and out the sides easier, which I know defeats the purpose, but you're still wearing a mask. And, like, it's just like, just wear a mask. It's like, it's so much easier to, like, just wear it, and just then, like I joke about it. I wear a mask because I don't like side eye. Like, of course I would rather not wear a mask. It's like, everybody's like that. I don't want to smell my own exhale. But
yeah,
it's
not a great experience. Of wearing a mask isn't perfect, but one thing I will say, there in Canada, for all you American listeners out there, or people who are in warm climates, in Canada, wearing a mask is nice on a cold day. It keeps your face warm, which is a kind of a nice feeling in the morning when it's colder. Because in Canada, up here in the Great White North, it's so cold all the time. It's not cold, but it has been a little bit chillier lately. But I would say that it's so ridiculous. The whole thing, he kind of deserves his fate. Like, he created his fate for himself, and he deserves that fate. And so I do not feel sorry for him, although I understand that he, I guess, technically has his own freedoms to sing the national anthem for Canadians. So there you go. I give him a 0.001 mark for being patriotic, I guess.
I don't know. It's like, at least it was outside. That's the only thing I could say. Like I said, I was going to feel bad for him because maybe he needs the money because he's not getting his regular singing gig. But like you say, he's a teacher, so he could probably get by. But
Allegedly, he may be a teacher.
okay.
Don't hold me to that. But I heard
It's facts now. We said it now.
We said it. That's what he does. He's
well,
a teacher.
Maybe if we talk about it too much, he'll lose that job too. But
he works for Burnaby South High.
Yeah.
He works at Burnaby.
Yeah. I just don't get like these people having these like rallies too. Like they're getting charged and stuff. So it's just like, and like I lost all sympathy for him when he's like, I'm gonna sing the anthem the dickhead way. How does that sound? So yeah, I'm with you. I don't feel bad for him. But
on the anthem, I like it the new way a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I sang the anthem the old way for most of my life, but that's because that's what it was. And I was waiting for some like foreign sports anthem singer, like in wherever, call it Florida, to sing it like the old way by accident. It never happened. Yeah. I loved how basically the public adopted the new anthem lyrics almost immediately. I love that. It was really cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like the way they changed it. It's no hard or anything, and I can't really remember all the words anyway. Like they're kind of like they're there, but they're kind of like in a cloud, and I don't really remember them until I'm singing it with other people. So it's just like, yeah, whatever. It's the national anthem. It's not like it's a song I'm going to put on and just fucking rock out to anyway. Like you only ever hear it like before an event or like a sports thing. So it's not like, I don't know, like I was never emotionally attached to it as a song itself. Like I get being patriotic and stuff, but it's like, to me, it's the exact same song. Like I don't even notice the difference really.
Yeah, I'm happier with it. It's more inclusive. It's better. It's not miles better because it's the country of Canada's flawed. So
just kidding.
You can't get too excited. No, you can't get too excited. But what I will say is, screw Mark Donnely. Screw that guy.
Yeah, let's just cut out with that. Like, fuck Mark Donnely.
Do we have time briefly for one more, or is that it?
Oh, we got all the time in the world, but it's Saturday night. Nobody's doing anything unless if you went to that
unless you're Mark today. Donnelly. If you're Mark Donnelly, you're well, I get
you're somewhere not wearing a mask. Maybe he doesn't like wearing a mask because it makes his beard itchy. I used to call him Mullet Pavarotti.
So I have asthma, like not too bad. It comes up from from allergies, and the mask thing doesn't really bother me. But I could kind of see somebody with really bad asthma saying, "Well, actually, the mask thing, it's hard to adopt that, but I'm trying." I could see it, but what I would say to people who use that excuse, I empathize with them and understand, but maybe there are other products out there that would work for people with really bad asthma.
Yeah.
I always try to play both sides, to be honest.
Yeah, but I'm kind of not totally up to date on what the actual mask mandate means. Like, can you still just wear like a face shield instead of the mask? Are you allowed to do that, or is it have to? Because I remember it used to be like you could just wear a mask or a face covering. And yeah, at work, when the mask thing happened, like this last one that's in now, at work I have to wear a mask and it was fogging up my glasses and I'm dealing with power tools. So I was like, this is dangerous. And they're like, well, just wear a face shield. And then I just stopped wearing glasses and I started wearing contacts instead so it doesn't fog it up. But I don't like if you have asthma and you can't breathe through it, just plop the old face shield on.
Yeah, maybe that's a solution for people. I don't know.
But I'm not sure if that's still you're still allowed to just do that.
This is how much of a homebody I am. Yeah. Is the mask is it currently mandated that everybody has to wear a mask at all times in public, even outside?
No, it's just indoors in public spaces. So if
Okay,
you're
so
outside, you don't have to wear a mask.
So if I'm like walking to Superstore, I can keep the mask on, but then I get to the door, I can put it on.
Yeah, you can keep it off. Yeah, if I'm outside, I don't wear it, and then I put it on anytime I go inside anywhere.
Yeah, because
You're
I
totally
mean, I
allowed to.
sometimes I put it on in the car and then go into the store. But I mean, I go to the
Yeah,
store. The store I go to is like Save on Foods once a week. Like I'm barely going anywhere.
yeah,
So and yeah, so I'm basically wearing masks the majority of the time I'm outside
yeah.
or outside of the house anyway.
Well,
But
it's like I go to like today we went on like a hike, and we weren't wearing a mask because you're out in nature, or whatever. But if I'm like, sometimes I'll wear it when I'm outside. If I'm going to be like, say I'm going to Walmart, and then on the sidewalk to Walmart, I'll put it on just because you're walking past the other people coming out and you're walking by other people. So if I feel like if I'm going to be around other people, even if I'm outside, I'll wear it. But usually I
yeah,
just put it on right
it
before I
gives
go
people
in.
a signal that you are concerned for
Yeah.
them and you. So it's nice.
Yeah. It's just like a, hey, I know what's going on. Doesn't it suck? Sometimes I give them the like eyebrows, like, believe this shit?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Do that. Like, hmm.
Yeah.
Like the
I
raised eyebrows is the new mouth thing where you're
I
like,
do feel bad for people like we were talking about parents earlier.
mm-hmm,
I mean, my dad has some pre-existing conditions and he's now officially 65 and up. And
yeah,
so like somebody like him I worry about, um, especially right now with the numbers that are coming out. This, by the way, in like a year, this episode is going to sound so dated because people are like, "What do you mean numbers?" But I know
yeah,
at work, everybody's bracing for Impact on Mondays at 3, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, what's the number going to be?" So
yeah,
I fear for Monday, but hopefully it'll be lower. I mean, that would be the ideal, right?
mm-hmm,
So,
yeah. Like it,
but
it hasn't
yeah,
gone
masks
much
are a good thing. So
over 800, so that's good.
yeah,
Uh,
we'll see.
yeah. We're at over an
So
hour. Do you want to call it? Or sorry, what were you gonna say? Oh, you just froze again. Damn.
do you want to talk about Elliot Page?
Oh yeah, we could cover that because that's a good one
Can
that
you
people are.
hear me now?
I can hear you now. I bet there's probably a lag for me on your end though.
Oh, good, good.
Okay. So I'll set up the Elliot Page thing and then I'll give it a sec.
Maybe
And
it's perfect for me.
okay. Um so Elliot Page used to be known as Ellen Page, and he came out as transgender. And the way it works is what someone is fuck, I'm trying to think of the word without sounding offensive, but whatever the person is going to become is how you refer to them. When you say like he is transgender, that means that he was a girl and is becoming a man physically. So Elliot Page is a transgender man now, and a lot of people online are being like, "Oh, but what about Umbrella Factory? How's that going to work?" And then somebody put out a tweet, "Oh, you mean the show with the talking monkey and time travel?" Yeah, I don't know how they'll ever get a transgender person into that plot.
I would say that I'm really happy for Elliot.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the Umbrella Academy, yeah, it's the easiest thing for writers to create. I mean, I know they're gonna create a great storyline for Elliot's character, who by the way is one of my favorite characters in the show. Um, and yeah, the term that I guess that people have been talking about, the term dead naming
Yeah.
is the term that they use. And you have to forgive me because I don't know a lot about this topic, but I'm trying to become more of an ally. So what I
Mm-hmm.
would say is that I support Elliot's journey, even though I don't know him personally, and I don't understand what any backlash would be. But God forbid that people would the things he's had to go through. I just can't even imagine. So God bless him.
Yeah. So, just the dead naming is when you call them by their old name. So if you were to be like, he'll never be Elliot to me, and then you say, I'll only refer to them as Ellen, that's dead naming. And that's bad. You can't do that really, because it's just basically you trying to cause hurt on someone else for no good reason. And yeah, like Ellen, or sorry, I just did it by accident. Elliot has, like, from the beginning of his acting career, he has been in the LGBTQ community. The first time I seen him was in Hard Candy, and that wasn't like in pop culture. It was in pop culture, but it wasn't like in the mainstream of movies. Like, it was on the outskirts of it because it had to deal with like pedophilia and stuff. And
I remember him in Scott Pilgrim, right? Am I right? Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
maybe was he in that? I don't. What character do you think he was?
One of the characters, maybe one of the rival bands. Anyway, that's such a great show.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's such a good movie. I'm not. I don't think he was a main character, but he might have been in one of the bands. I can't remember. I would have to Google it. So
was he in that movie? Anyway, I've really liked basically everything I've seen. Great acting. So.
oh yeah, he is a really good actor.
Umbrella Academy is a great show. Season 2 is better than season 1. So.
Oh yeah,
everybody out there.
I was not expecting it to be better than season 1, because season 1 was so good. It's like, I'm a huge sci-fi fan, as anybody who's heard me talk about the movies I like, and just all sometimes like the crazier the better. Like, and that show's really good because it is like each character is so like bizarre in their own little way. Yeah, I think season 3 will be good, and they will handle it because I think they left the end of season 2 in a different timeline, so they could even handle Elliot easily that way, just being like, well, in this timeline, it's always been Elliot. Like, they could even do that.
Writers are smart people. I mean, they were able to write Princess Leia so well. This is a weird example, but Princess Leia, they treated so tastefully, in my opinion, even though hardcore Star Trek, they hate that movie, but I thought they handled her really well. So writers are smart. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they definitely will. And you're correct about that. I love Star Wars too. Yeah, I think, are you still there?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's just dumb when people see something like this and they feel like they gotta weigh in. Like, Elliot's been through enough. Like, obviously, it's nice that he's finally coming out and he can finally live the way he's always wanted to. And it just, like, you think back at their career, and maybe if they would have, like, maybe they were like just thinking about how in that position specifically, like, if he was scared to come out earlier because he thought it might affect his career or the roles he would get. So you feel bad for that, but I'm glad he's finally at a place where he's can be who he feels like he is.
Yeah, I can't even imagine all of those problems. Like, you and I clearly don't have
Oh yeah.
to worry about these. Well, I don't know you well enough. I'm just assuming. But the one thing I would say is that my life is so much different, and those challenges don't exist for me. And I empathize with Elliot and people like Elliot because of the difficulties they've had. And we're talking about our folks. My dear mom passed away a few years ago, and she was the kind of like lady who empathized with everybody.
Yeah.
The unfortunate souls, and I think I've kind of gained some of that from her since she's been gone. I try to, like, when you deal with grief, basically what happens is you feel pain differently, so you see pain in others easier. So, and then you feel for those people, you empathize easier to at least that's what's happened to me. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I empathize with maybe somebody like Elliot more now than I would have 10 to 15 years ago. That's for the better. It's for the better. So I certainly wish him well. So yeah, and anybody who dead names or backlash about a TV show is just, that's ridiculous. Screw those guys.
Yeah, screw them and Mark Donnelly.
But yeah, definitely buy my album.
Yeah, buy Marty's album. It's good. I did want to say thank you for making that playlist on your homepage on Spotify where it is all your singles in a playlist, so I don't have to bounce back and forth. So it's almost like it's on an album already.
It is, but there's a couple songs that aren't actually on the record. They're from my previous record, so it makes it easier for you.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody go listen to Marty. Don't listen to Mark. And until next time. Oh wait,
stay Outrage.
Whoa.
Do you have?
Whoa, I forgot. What is your Twitter handle so people can go look you up?
It's my name, at Marty Zylstra.
Okay. And then on Facebook, you were telling me this because I may mess this up. On Facebook, you have a
music. Yeah, music.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. You have a personal page, which is you and your person. And then you have a your music band page type of deal. And are they the same thing? But
so this is and Dom Frico, so I can kind of laugh because he's complained about this before, where he has his music page, which is his name, Dominic Frico, and he's got his personal Facebook profile, which is also his name.
Yeah.
It's the same with me, except for my Facebook profile for music is Marty Zylstra Music. As simple as that. And same thing with Instagram. I had to go because I was sharing a bunch of photos of my children on my Instagram profile, so I made a separate music account. So
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago. So
okay, that's good. And yeah, go find Marty Zylstra. Did I get it right that time?
You corrected yourself.
It only took 6 tries. Find Marty Zylstra on Spotify, like I've been mentioning, and Bandcamp, which he mentioned. Apple Music. Where do people even get music?
It's everywhere. The artists use this thing called Linktree. Makes it easier. Yeah. So Linktree is great. Add my Christmas song to your playlist for Christmas. Woo!
Yeah, put it right after
Michael Bublé.
Yeah, Bublé and that
Mariah
girl
Carey.
Mariah Carey. I also highly suggest you guys. Oh man, what is that song? What's the California song? I really like that song. Sweet California. That's a good song.
It's my favorite song on the record. Oh,
it's my favorite song on the record too.
I've been rehearsing, and so that song, I was listening to it today, rehearsing to it because I have I have an unannounced show coming up in January. But
sounds like you just announced it to me.
Yeah, you'll have to look for the press release. But anyway, I really like how that song turned out.
Nice. Do you take requests for covers at all?
Like for the show, I'll take requests, but see, so the format of the show will be a live streaming show, which you probably would guess in this climate. And I'm going to do some music with a full band, and then I'm going to do a solo kind of set, and then I'm going to do a finale. So, and then what I'll do is a Q&A at the end, so people can ask me questions, like an AMA at the end.
Yeah.
For 10 to 15 minutes and talk to people. Maybe people could phone me. I want that to be set up where I could take phone calls.
Nice.
Which would be kind of different. But if people request songs, I would certainly consider it. If I get the same request over and over, certainly.
Okay. My request is the entirety of the Rah Rah Riot catalog. Because I think those songs would sound really good with your voice. But
that's a good band.
If you want to pick one song, I'd say Can You Tell? That's a really good song.
By Rah Rah Riot.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it
tonight. I think your voice would mesh with that sound very nicely, good sir.
I've heard that before, actually.
Now, I'm the first one who was smart enough to come up with it. Nobody told me that before.
Nobody told me
Those are all lies.
Well, Dale, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Oh, hey, thanks for coming by. It's been a real treat. We discovered we share a heritage, and that's nice. So I feel like we bonded.
Do you like stroopwafels?
Yes, I do.
What about gabakias?
What's kabukias?
They're cookies.
I probably like them. Are they those?
Speculas are the other ones.
Ooh, I like speculas. Do you like salted licorice?
A lot, yes.
How about pickled herring?
No,
Yeah,
it's not my thing.
I can't eat it anymore since I got gout, but it's pretty good. And
yeah, that's cool, man.
I don't know if it's German or Dutch, but pfeffernuss. I think it's like it's kind of like a gingerbread cookie mix thing that's glazed. It's so good.
Yeah, those are Dutch. I love them.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, all of those things remind me so much of Christmas, actually, this time of year. Because we would go to Southern Ontario and visit my Paka and Beppa, as they were known.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, she would always have all of those goodies out, and
Nice.
oily bowling on New Year's Eve.
Yes, I fucking love oily ballin', but you gotta eat it.
I'll be honest,
right away.
I don't like it, but I've heard it's not because it's not amazing. It's just because I haven't had it like made properly.
Okay, it can get a bit greasy because it is like deep fried dough, but it's very similar to, like, that's why those donuts are called Dutchy, is because they're similar to what oily ballin' is, except for they're glazed. And oily ballin', if you're not Dutch and you don't know, is you make up they look like Timbits. So it's like you cook them, you make them up and you roll the dough and then you deep fry it. And then you take it when it's still hot and you dip it in icing sugar, and it is so good. Just don't burn your mouth. It's not my fault if you do.
That's probably what we were doing wrong, is letting them cool. It's not supposed to be cooled.
Yeah, because it's like, I find
it when it's hot, right?
Yeah, if you let it cool too much, then like the fat, because you're deep frying them, then maybe some of the fat inside will congeal and it'll make like kind of a bad texture. Or it's like, and then it's like when you deep fry stuff, you run into the problem: is the oil hot enough? Is it too hot? Like if it's too cold, if the oil's not hot enough, you have to deep fry it longer, then it gets like mushy in the middle. Whereas like, I don't know. Anyways. But yeah, I love all the Christmas treats, all the Dutch Christmas treats. Yeah.
Me
So,
too, my friend. Well, it was great chatting with you, and rock on.
Yeah. Until next time, stay angry.
Rock on.
And rock on.
Bye.
Okay. Wait. Let's do it. I'll say it, and then you finish. Okay.
Okay.
Until next time,
stay angry.
Isn't this the best podcast when I'm like texting? I'm like, this is fun. We haven't had internet problems in a while. So what happened? Did you just freeze up and then it left? Ah, you froze up again. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you. I can definitely hear you.
I bet people love this. Hey, let's troubleshoot some computer problems. All right. Actually, I don't even have to bring this up if you're listening to this post live stream, because I will have edited this all out. And if you're with us on the live stream and you're still with us, thanks for sticking around. I promise it will be just as entertaining as every other episode of our podcast has been.
And they all are.
Thanks, Marty.